Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Yes, and welcome to my YouTube channel. It always cracks me up when gamers talk down on indie titles, which mainly stems from their lack of quality and quantity when compared to their big brother, AAA counterparts. Take a minute to compare the following two games, Gunman Clive and Red Dead Redemption 2. Our video game preferences are absolutely subjective, but you will be hard-pressed to find someone who never played a video game in their lifetime and would choose the former over the latter, since Rockstar's creation has a better plot, more appealing gameplay, and a noticeable boost in production value. With that being said, I have grown accustomed to being more surprised by indies than AAA games nowadays. A Plague Tale: Innocence blew me away with its presentation, To the Moon captivated me with its narrative, and Before Your Eyes took me by surprise with its gameplay mechanic. All of those examples are presented to show you that indies can and should be in the same battleground as titles like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Halo Infinite. This conversation brings us to today's highlight. The Ascent caught my attention from the very first trailer. A cyberpunk-themed world with top-down shooting moments like Dead Nation? Sign me up. Thankfully, it was released as a free title for subscribers of Xbox's Game Pass service. After spending more than 10 hours and investing myself in Microsoft's latest exclusive, I was very tempted to give this game a 10 out of 10 and name it my favorite pick of 2021. It has not reached that moment because of two particular flaws, but it certainly made me wonder how Cyberpunk 2077, which was 2020's biggest disappointment, would have turned out had it taken some notes from the makers of The Ascent. What are my thoughts on today's game? Time to find out. Without further ado, let's review The Ascent, which was released this year and for the purpose of transparency was played on the Xbox Series S. Story. Easily the weakest part of the game. I honestly had to double check certain sources to see if I understood what is going on in the narrative. The gist of it tells the tale of a guy or a gal who work for poor communities as a mercenary, as these groups attempt to uncover typical controversies by the wealthiest groups of individuals. As you play The Ascent, you can see signs of a plot that deserves better exposition. However, you will encounter various terms that refer to different factions, and you will be asking yourselves, wait, who are they? Are they on my side? Are they against me? I tried to give it a fair chance for about 75% of it, but I'll be honest, by the time I realized that I was reaching the end of the adventure, I started to skip lines of dialogue because I did not care. If you're willing to sit through logs of Wikipedia-like paragraphs that detail the purpose of every single individual you meet in the game, God bless. As far as I'm concerned, I should not be required to read optional text to understand what is happening around me. Visuals and audio design. In the previous section, I heavily criticized the game, and I would not blame you if a bad initial impression was developed. Thankfully, every other section in this review is generally filled with high appraisal. Let us start with the presentation. When Cyberpunk 2077 came out, it was bombarded by negative comments that pointed out the lack of environmental detail compared to the first trailers and, of course, the bugs and glitches. Although The Ascent did not have the same budget as CD Projekt Red's latest outing, I will go ahead and say that in terms of world building and complex level design, The Ascent is actually better than Cyberpunk 2077. The backdrop areas are gorgeous. NPCs constantly interact with each other or points of interest. The character designs and cutscenes may convince you that the team behind The Ascent are more than a bunch of indie developers. The animations are solid. I cannot gush over the graphics enough. The audio design is just as good. The music is great and really goes into high gear during the boss battles. The sound effects from the different weapons hit the right spots. The voice acting is serviceable.
There's a quiche. Yeah, I know. But he's a mean icecracker, a real net sage. I've employed his services once before. Unfortunately, it didn't end well, and I might have screwed him over.
My only nitpicking is the lack of a voice by the protagonist, which hurts your attachment to him or her. Nevertheless, The Ascent's presentation currently sets the bar for other indie teams and, quite frankly, even some first-party companies. Gameplay. If you played Dead Nation, you will be familiar with the core concepts of The Ascent's gameplay. You aim your gun at the bad guys, shoot them, upgrade your character, and repeat. It is a broad description, so let's cover the other aspects that you will experience during your playthrough. In a similar fashion to Necromunda Hired Gun, You will meet people, take mercenary-based missions from them, complete them, and redeem your rewards. Unlike one of 2021's most disappointing video games, the Ascent's gunplay is so much fun, to the point that I did not really mind the mundane process of accepting and wrapping up objectives. Each gun feels impactful, and you can customize your arsenal with 2 primary weapons and a tactical equipment like a grenade. There are other options to personalize your created character, such as gender, armor, facial features, and abilities, such as a powerful punch like Captain Falcon's ability in the original Super Smash Bros., and a summon of robotic spiders that explode upon impact. The last piece of adjustment to your character is attributes, that you can increase every time you level up. It changes your maximum health, reload speed, and cooldown of abilities, among other benefits. The process of using guns does not have the same level of variety as another top-down role-playing title called Diablo 3, but it is solid, and I can certainly see several ways in which a sequel could improve upon it. Before we move on, I need to vent my frustration with the game's difficulty in relation to the final mission. As a whole, the Ascent is a semi-challenging game, especially when you are not careful with your upgrades or swarmed by numerous foes. Even so, it is perfectly manageable by yourself, and more than manageable if you play with another player locally or online. The sole exception is the final mission, where you must complete a task while endless swarms of monsters are on your tail. These creatures are also accompanied by some of the more powerful human opponents in the game. The problem here is how the waves and waves of foes literally do not end until you take the necessary step to advance the mission. It is a trope that I saw on several occasions, and Josh Scorcher from YouTube perfectly depicts it while discussing another shooting-based franchise, Call of Duty.
You've all had this happen to you at some point, right? You're playing a game and you're on this one level, trying to complete your objective, but you can't move forward because the moment you do, you're turning into Swiss cheese by all the enemies attacking you. So you stay there for a moment, desperately trying to hold off your enemy, and then another moment, and then another, and then another. Finally, sick and tired of all this waiting, you run forward with this massive dash to your goal, only to have all resistance crumble before your very eyes. And so you wonder, logic.
As you can imagine, the process becomes tedious depending on your chosen difficulty setting. I played it on easy mode, and I still had some trouble until I said screw it, interacted with a certain panel, and the game ended. I want to emphasize that I still loved my time with the Ascent, and the gameplay is one of the best parts, but the last level did leave a sour taste in my mouth. Your experience may differ. Fun factor: putting the last mission to the side, I really enjoyed my time with the Ascent. The gunplay was incredibly solid, and I was always catching myself being in awe at the title's level design. I have not tested the cooperative modes, but I can only imagine that the amount of fun that I had with the Ascent would only double. If any of you want to play the Ascent with me, feel free to let me know. I will always be interested in jumping into the cyberpunk world and taking down the enemies. Impressions on Xbox achievements. The list of objectives in the Ascent is straightforward. You have your traditional story-based tasks that will be given free of charge once you beat the game. The rest of the missions towards the 100% achievement ranking are miscellaneous, such as fully upgrading your weapon, collecting logs, and killing a certain number of enemies with a status ability. There are no difficulty-related trophies, so you can turn down the setting if a level 2 are giving you some trouble. In general, the most challenging aspect of earning all the achievements will be the accomplishment of beating the game, which can be tricky if you do not upgrade your weapons, level up your character, or perhaps do it by yourself. When should you pick it up? If you are a member of Microsoft's Game Pass service, you can currently get access to it for free. Otherwise, you will have to cough up $30, which is a bit of a hefty price for a title that does not have endgame content. I think you should give it a try, but maybe when it has a new price tag of $20. If you do play games on Game Pass, I highly recommend that you check out the Ascent, especially if you have friends with whom you can play cooperatively. In the end, the Ascent is a fantastic experience that, at this point in time, warrants a membership to the Xbox Game Pass service. The graphics and audio design are gratifying, the gunplay feels responsive and tight, and the role-playing mechanics incentivize experimentation and hours of fighting against human and non-human foes. It's a shame that the beautiful environments are wasted on a story that ultimately failed at engaging me. In addition, the task for its send-off is specifically designed with cooperative play in mind, leaving solo players with a potential infuriating final impression. Nonetheless, the Ascent still managed to perpetually impress me from start to finish, and I would most definitely be open for a sequel in the future. I will give the Ascent from 2021 an 8 out of 10. Well folks, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for checking it out. What are your thoughts on the Ascent? Have you played it? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Till next time, have a great day or evening wherever you are. My name is AES, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.